Hello, it's Deborah from the Attic. Today's video is an introduction to a short series where I want to talk about inspiration. This is one of my coffee break tutorial videos, so the idea is that it's short enough that you can go and grab a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or a lovely cocktail and you can just sit back and watch the video and it won't take too much of your time. Inspiration is a difficult thing to explain and I've thought about it quite a lot, and I think I've got a way to tell you how I come at the sort of inspiration that means that I create things like this. And the way I do it is I don't use the word inspiration because that sounds like something that descends upon you in some mystical, magical fashion. But the truth is a bit more mundane than that. Substitute the word inspired for the word interested. So instead of saying, what am I interested in? Instead of saying what inspires me, say, what am I interested in? And whenever I ask myself that question, because that's the word that I've used quite a lot, I say, okay, I'm interested in dogs. I have a dog, I like dogs, therefore I've collected some little dog stamps and I need a way to use those. So I'm interested in dogs, I know that. I'm interested in flowers. I don't know much about growing them, but I like to have fresh flowers in my kitchen, for example, so I know I like flowers. I like the names of moths. This is something I stumbled across quite recently. Some moth names are just beautiful, and I made a mental note that I would go away and I would have a look on Google and see what different moth names there were, and so that gave me inspiration and for this tag, because I was interested in the original subject and I'm interested in Sherlock Holmes mysteries. I like the books and I listen to audiobooks when I'm crafting in the attic, and I find them good company, so I know I'm interested in those sorts of things. If you think about the things in your day-to-day life that interest you, that capture your attention, that's where you can, that's your source material for what you can make. You might be really interested in baking and cooking. I am. You might be really interested in astronomy. So then you've got a hook for something that you could create. Now, with paper crafting, we've got a whole range of things that we can make, and we can make tags that can go into journals, and we can make cards that can be given to friends. This is another card as well, based on my interest in flowers. Or we can make something that could be a mixture. This could be a tag that goes into a journal, or it could be used as a basis for a card perhaps. And we can also make tiny little books. This is a little pamphlet, little book that I've made that could be used to tuck into a little spot in a journal on the same subject. When I was thinking about dogs and what I would like to create using the basis of my interest in dogs, I thought there's lots of really funny dog names. So Chihuahua, that's quite a funny name, isn't it? My dog is a terrier. And I was thinking about all the different names of dog breeds that you could get, and I didn't come up with very many. I'm not very good at that sort of stuff, but Google's brilliant at it. And Google threw out Beagle, Bloodhound, Papillon, Rottweiler, and all these different words for dogs. And I thought that's quite fun. So I created a sheet of A4 paper, and I printed out some words that I just typed into my computer. I chose a nice font, and then I toned down the black. So this is grey, this is black, and you could do exactly the same thing depending on what your interest is. So if it's baking, I keep coming back to baking, I clearly have an obsession, but if it's baking, then you could put baking words on a sheet of paper and print them out. Choose a font, mark out some of them a little bit darker, use a darker colour for some of them just to make them stand out a little bit more from the page. Add a few words at the bottom that you can use to make up some phrases, and then you've given yourself a background sheet of paper and you've given yourself some little phrases that you can use at the bottom. Now on these two that I made, I actually had a stamp and I used the phrase from the stamp, but the background on both of these is this background paper. So this is what I'm going to be showing you. I'm going to be showing you how you could make your own background paper and then what you can make from it. So that's as an example, that's dogs. This is another example, and this is for my interest in flowers, and again this just has lots of flower names on it and then some little words below that I can mix and match to create a sentiment on the front of my card. This one is all about the naming of moths. There are some amazing moth names like Brighton wainscot, clouded border. Some of them are amazing, red underwing, and at the bottom here again there are some words in a darker colour that you can add to something that you've made. So again, this is used as background paper. I've actually got two tags on top of each other using this same background paper, and I've used some of these words below to put a sentiment that says take flight. Finally, there is a sheet of paper with words all about Sherlock Holmes Investigates, and this is linked to my interest in the Sherlock Holmes books, and I used this to make a little Victorian style-y little pamphlet booklet that I can slip into a journal, and I've put a stamp on the front, and then I've taken some of the darker words again to create a little sentiment on the front of my pamphlet. This introductory video then explains how we're going to take the idea of using your interests to create your inspiration. I'm going to look at each of these areas. Sounds like the fairies against my phone. I'm going to look at each of the areas that I've identified as my area of interest, and I'm going to show you how you can do what I've done here. So I hope you'll join me for each of the next videos. I'll load them up every 3 or 4 days or so, and these papers I'm also going to make available on Etsy, but of course part of what I want you to see is how you could create your own papers. Thanks for your time, thank you for joining me, and until we meet again, take care.